This NASCAR 2027 free agent and silly season speculation edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5 and get $75 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Hopefully you had a very happy and enjoyable and relaxing and stressful and whatever other adjectives you can come up with for your holiday season. Of course, we are coming to you back live again after our recorded session. But yeah, we are here and we are ready to crack into the last week, Cody, of the 2025 calendar year, heading into 2026, but looking ahead to 2027 because it's never too early and you can never be too prepared for what's to come.
Yeah, it really isn't. The transfer portal is crazy in NASCAR because you enter it very early while you're still playing for your current team. And we see deals get done very early into seasons. I mean, obviously there were some huge dominoes just 2 seasons ago when, Stewart Haas announces they're closing down. Joe Gibbs walks in and says, Truex, I need an answer. You staying, you going? Truex says he's going. Boom, the Chase Briscoe thing falls into place there. Look how good that's turned out, right? You go back to the year prior to that or a couple of years ago, Tyler Reddick. He still had a year and a half left on his deal when 23XI scooped in and said, we want you to be our guy, signed him up. Obviously, they ended up, voiding that last year of the contract and working that out, and he leaves RCR early, goes over there. But deals in NASCAR, and it's been this way for quite some time, but especially these days, are done very far in advance. And the list of potential free agents, and we'll get to it as we walk through it, right? It's not easy. It's not like the NFL where you can just go look at everybody's exact cap information and what incentives they have. And NASCAR's a little more secretive on the deals, but we have a list of drivers some we do know for sure are up after 2026. Some, we don't know for sure, but could be up after 26. So yeah, it'll be fun to kind of speculate, go through some stuff, big names, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman. Those are big names, big rides. We know that their contracts are up after this year. Do they just re-sign? Is it as simple as that? Or do things shuffle around? It'll be fun to speculate on it as we creep ever so closer to the Daytona 500, which, by the way, is GOAT days away, Rod. 48 days till the Daytona 500, baby.
I know, and so we are going to do a full intensive history on the 48 car. So sit back and relax as we get you all prepped for 48 days. You will learn all about the 48 car's history and who drove it. No, I'm just kidding. You won't. You guys, you beat it out of me already. But speaking of that team and the entire Hendrick team, Justin checking in saying, no way Hendrick will let Larson walk. We'll talk about that in a second. Justin also saying, good afternoon, gentlemen. Cody was a fan champ match in fantasy. I'm not sure
He got the best of me, is what he's trying to say. Although, according to Sleeper, I still have a 2% chance. So, I'm not throwing in the towel just yet in our championship match. He's only up 43.5 points. I have Puka Nakua left, and he has Bijan Robinson. So, I just need Puka to outscore Bijan by 43 points, and I'll beat Justin. So
easy. They'll sit Bijan, and you'll get Puka going off for 5,000 yards and 3 touchdowns.
From your lips to God's ears, Rob.
I'm telling you, man, we saw Derrick Henry have the game of his freaking year the other day. 3 touchdowns.
That won me. That won me the ship in the. Well, knock on wood, we're not done yet. I'm at a. It's looking very good to win the ship in my my main true number 1 dynasty league I want to win every year. So yes, that's looking good.
I'm pretty pissed that I was not in the championship match when Derrick Henry went off. But slow roll saying, what up, Rod and Cody? Only 34 days into the unofficial start of NASCAR. We're rocking Casbah with the Clash.
Yeah. We'll be betting on a race. That'll be happening 34 days from now. That is not season's here, Rod. We're into it, baby. It's a month away and the Clash is here. So really 1 month from now we'll be doing our pick show for the Clash. So super excited.
Very super excited. Also super excited for you to get everything else that's happening right now. There is NFL still going on. NBA is happening right now, and all kinds of other sports are out there, and you can get access to all of the free picks and podcasts from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network in one convenient place, and that's by downloading the SGPN app. Get it for free in your app store. All you got to do, type in SGPN. Before we go any further with the show, we are aware of the happenings from earlier today. Denny Hamlin, the house that his parents live in, that is confirmed, did catch fire, and there was a major fire at the residence. There's no update yet, although speculations are obviously pretty much speculations because of where it was at and who's involved, that there is 1 casualty and 1 is fighting life-threatening injuries from the fire. Another sad story for NASCAR. It just seems like it's coming in waves right now. It's unfortunate, but we are definitely all thinking of Denny Hamlin, who, as much as a villain as you want to make some of these drivers and these people, and if you want to root against him, that's fine, but you never, ever wish harm on anybody, up to and including the driver or their family. So our thoughts are with Denny Hamlin right now.
Yeah, you said it best, Rod. Just a horrible situation. Very, very unfortunate. So yeah, really our thoughts are with the family, and there's never a good time for it, but with the health issues his father's been having after the season he just had right at Christmas time. I mean, just, and I saw something that maybe it was their anniversary, the day of the fire. Oh my goodness, just absolutely horrible. So, yeah, very, very sad deal there. And definitely thoughts are with the Hamlin family as they go through this tough time, and thinking of the one that is still battling their injuries, and hopefully there's a path to recovery there.
Yeah, I'm sure as the news progresses, we'll be able to update you on Discord if you want to follow along there, or obviously, Bob Pockris is a good resource for that. Jeff Cluck, all the NASCAR guys that cover the sport are great to keep up with that. So again, thoughts and prayers with Denny Hamlin, and yeah, we will move on with the rest of the show. Just really thinking about them and holding them up in our hearts. So, all right, like we said, Cody, it's never too early to plan ahead, right? The best people, the most successful people plan ahead. And so here we are in 2025. We already did the 2026 driver recap, right? We've already talked about all the changes that are taking place for the green flag of the Daytona 500 that affect next season. But like you said, Cody, a lot of these deals get done so incredibly early that we could be talking a month after the Daytona 500 on some of these folks drivers changing rides, getting extensions. More than likely, it's changing, or it's signing the extensions for some of these drivers, because I wouldn't think that you would. I mean, Tyler Reddick did it, and a couple of these Kyle Busch did it, but I think they've also set the precedent that it's really not a great idea to announce that early that you're leaving rides. Oh yeah, how about Caden Honeycutt just saying he was going to leave his ride and getting kicked out of his truck earlier too. So yeah, a lot of these guys will be changing their rides or signing their extensions, but yeah, there's some big names, and which is why we're going now to look at it, because as we walk through 2026, some of these guys are in contract years. Some of these guys are going to be trying to audition for their next ride or to keep their current one. So a lot of big names on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it doesn't take much to go from, well, is Justin Haley going to replace Alex Bowman in the 48 to now he's a full-time truck driver? Again, it's a quick cycle, just like anything, right? The Philadelphia Eagles the other night, you just said in the first half, wow, their offense looks like they're in Super Bowl form. And then the second half, people are saying, wow, they look like the worst team in the NFL. So it doesn't take long for opinions to change, right? And for things to change. Obviously, we had this a couple of years ago where a bunch of guys were coming up. A majority of them re-sign with their teams. And that's going to be likely in a lot of these cases, right? Kyle Larson, we don't want to spoil it, but yeah, he's probably going to stay with Hendrick, right? We'll talk about it. But that's likely going to happen. But there is going to be some shaking and moving, and there are some fairly sizable pieces like a Kyle Busch that could be on the move that could shake things up. And then obviously, having a car like the 48 car open, that to me is the biggest piece in all of this. And if Rick Hendrick wants to make a move, he would be better to do so earlier rather than later and get the guy he wants for that ride, right? So I did look. It was June that was announced that Chase Briscoe was going to join Joe Gibbs Racing. So still fairly early into the season. I mean, yeah, we start in February and that's June, but when the season doesn't end until November, June's pretty far away, right? So, yeah, it's in big years like this, like we saw with 2311, even going a year ahead of time, go get your guy if you have the opportunity and you have a ride that you want to fill with one of these guys. So could be interesting, silly season for sure.
Yeah, and what makes this a little bit different than a lot of the other sports out there is the lack of a salary cap or the lack of any sort of thing to keep a big player from moving to another team. Really, the salary cap, Cody, in this is how much can a team afford? How deep are the pockets of the owners and the operators? And are the charters available? Is the car available? Like there's a lot of factors that don't factor into football, baseball, basketball, right? Where you guys, you have this limit that you can go to. I mean, as long as you can afford, and like we said, we'll talk about it, a guy like Kyle Larson, well, that's on you to try to chase after him and bring him over to your team.
Yeah, I mean,
have the big teams keep them, like the Gibbs and the Hendricks and keep these guys on the roster for a while. Penske.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of things that go into it, right? It's not like the NFL in the sense that you don't, this isn't your quarterback and you have to sign the rest of your team within a cap. Like your driver's your driver. That's the guy he's the front and center, right? So much different in that aspect. And like you said, it really is, what can you pay? And we did see a big shift a couple of years ago when Kyle Busch, one of the biggest free agents in recent history, of course he'll re-sign, right? Of course Kyle Larson will re-sign. Well, then we got farther on and they just couldn't make the money work, right? With Mars leaving the sport with M&Ms, the money wasn't there. Kyle didn't want to take the pay cut that was coming to him. Joe decided, okay, fine, it's time to move on. I've obviously got a driver we want to put in the car with his grandson, Ty, coming up. And so everybody thought Kyle Busch was going to return to the 18 car. He'd been there a long time. Things were going well. Like Kyle Busch at that time was still, not where we think of him right now, Rod. But that was a shock, right? Oh, wow, he's not going to be back. And then where does he go? And how does that shake around? And that was actually at the same time that Reddick had just been poached. So it sort of worked out nicely for RCR to slide him into that car and let Reddick go, right? But yeah, it's crazy the number of different things that go into it. Obviously, do you have an open ride? Which drivers are available? Who can you pull away from somebody? Can you at RFK talk Justin Haley, that's up and coming, great prospect, into, oh, this is going to be such a good place where we're in the RFK shop. Things are going great. Remember when he signed with them, choosing them over Spire, and everybody's like, what? Or where was he? He was with Cawley. He was in the 31, and everybody's like, you're going to RW, and it was just like this whole thing. Oh, Keselowski was in the meeting. Rick Ware Racing's on the up. It was a 3-year deal. We're like 2 years into that, and he's in the Truck Series again. I mean, it's crazy how fast things shake and change, and what people are able to talk people into, and all the things that actually go into getting these deals done.
Life comes at you fast. That is for sure. All right, we've got some names to talk about. We'll check in with the chat, but I want to take this opportunity first to tell you about Kalshi. We've just partnered up with Kalshi, it's Kalshi I've been watching the commercials so much, I've been mispronouncing it. So it's Kalshi. We're partnered up with Kalshi, a real money prediction market, legal in all 50 states. In all 50 states, you can trade tons of markets, including sports like the NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, and more. Plus, you can even trade props like first TDs. Besides sports, they've got a ton of other markets, including the politics, weather, entertainment. Hell, you can even trade on the weather. Kalshi, you can trade on anything. Don't believe me? How about what you've been sitting there thinking to yourself, man, these announcers, all they do is repeat themselves. Well, on Kalshi, you can put your money where your mouth is, and you can trade on what will the announcers say during the Rams and Atlanta game on Monday Night Football. Do you think they're going to say any version of the word fine, like fine, fines, or fined? Puka Nacua was fined recently for his statements about the referees. 55 cents on the yes, 51 cents on the no to trade on Kalshi. So go do that. New Kalshi customers get $20 when they use promo code SGPN. That's Kalshi, Kalshi, promo code SGPN. Underdog is your home for pick'em entries where you can win up to 5,000 times your entry. Underdog's got you covered this holiday season. With Underdog Unwrapped, you'll unwrap tons of promotions throughout all of the holidays. Looking ahead at this Monday Night Football game that's going on. How about Blake Corum? We were talking about Puka. How about Blake Corum? How about the rushing and receiving touchdowns higher than a half? 1.17 times your entry. Blake Corum has scored a touchdown against Seattle last week, against Detroit the week before that, 2 against the Cardinals, 1 against the Panthers. If you're counting, that is 4 straight games with at least 1 touchdown for Blake Corum. So give me the higher than 1.17 rushing and receiving touchdowns for Blake Corum over there on Underdog. They got a brand new offer too. If you're a new customer, play just $5, get $75 in bonus credits and bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACE, SGPN. That's the fun thing about when you're opening to trade like what like Kalshi does, is that, you know, so many times you're just sitting there, you're like, these guys, all they do is talk about the same thing. And you know, with a big story like Puka Nacua getting fined, they're going to say fine, and you're going to get the cash back when you're trading on it. So go take full advantage of that. It's just free money, folks.
And like just being able to trade on anything. Oh, it's great. I mean, who doesn't love that? Yeah, God. Or DJs around here, Rod. Come on.
This is like true. I mean, if you go to their markets, and not to extend their stay here, but it's who's going to win the Senate race in Wyoming, who's going to win the Senate race in West Virginia, right? These are all things that you can trade on, and it's just, it's insane. Definitely a brand new world that we live in for sure. All right, let's just begin at the beginning, I guess, right? Because it's a name on everybody's list. It's the 5 car. It's the poster boy for this episode. John Ray saying Larson going to be at Hendrick Motorsports for another 3 years for sure. And Justin saying, but safe to say Larson now is better than what Kyle was. So it's a crazy world of
Justin saying that, you know, it's true. Like the Kyle Busch fanboy that he is. Yeah, Larson's not going anywhere, Rod. I mean, it's just, yes, his deal is up after 2026 as of, you know, the last reported thing. I think it was a 3-year deal. We're at the end of that deal. Obviously, it's been very successful run there. He's got 2 championships. He is the best race car driver in the world currently. And if the money's not there, well, it is, because Rick Hendrick owns the money, all the money. And look, HendrickCars.com, he's put them in there, right? And I guess interesting, we haven't got an extension because the other drivers like Byron, I think Byron's contract is through 29 now. Like he's fully extended way out. Elliott is through 27. And then Larson and Bowman are up this year. Who knows what the reason is for not having an extension, right? And maybe they are still shopping out other sponsorships, but it does seem like the Hendrick Cars sponsorship has actually worked out well for the Hendrick Cars business. So, you know, I don't foresee there being any issue there in getting it re-signed. Obviously, Hendrick is the top tier team. They've got the best cars. He's the best driver. I mean, it would be crazy for him to leave under any circumstances. I don't care how much of a pay cut they ask him to take. And where would he go, right? I mean, the only team I could see you realistically leaving Hendrick for is Gibbs, but Gibbs has got a full stable of very good drivers. There's none of those guys. Okay, I know what you're going to say about Ty Gibbs, but Ty Gibbs' name's on the building, Rod. So they have a very good stable of 3 drivers and 1 young potential star. that's got his name on the building, so he ain't going anywhere. So, 2311, do they make a crazy swing? Like, right, Michael Jordan, you sell him on that? It's probably not, but Riley Herbst's contract's up after this year, so maybe.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, so here's my thoughts too. And obviously, yes, it's crazy to think that Kyle Larson will go anywhere other than the Hendrick number 5 car still. Because you look at the track record of Hendrick rewarding guys like Jeff Gordon, like Jimmy Johnson, with just long careers in the Hendrick family, right? It's
Kyle Busch really is the one contrary to, like, he's the one that they had young and didn't work out, right? But otherwise, yeah, the Jeff Gordons, the Jimmy Johnsons, obviously those are the 2 big examples, and Kyle Larson is 1,000% along those guys. Like, he's in the same conversation as those guys, and we've seen it before with Busch, so not impossible, but Larson's not going anywhere. He's going to stay in the 5 car and be there for many years and win many races and potentially many more championships.
It would be funny though, and it would be something to, the eye emojis, the double eye emojis, if he did end up going to 2311 somehow and taking that Riley Herbst ride. Because think about it this way. Okay, one, he's driving for Michael Jordan, which would be just a phenomenal pairing, right? GOAT on
that. Rick Hendrick is the god of racing owners, right? But like, if Michael Jordan calls you, Rod, you get on the phone with Michael Jordan and tell him no.
Like, hey, Kyle, listen, man, we're really working a deal here where we want you to come drive for us. We need 2311 to be a little more, our game would be upped a little more. And then think about it this way too, Cody. Denny Hamlin would be his boss. That would be hilarious.
That would be great. But you'd have Reddick and Larson in the same build. Like, again, this is this is way far-fetched. It's very unlikely to happen. But if something like that did happen, say Monster, they've got all this money they want to spend, decides, let's pony up and grab a guy like that. Like, you'd have to bring the bank, I think. And yes, that's Heim's ride, but if Kyle Larson wants it, sorry, Corey Heim, you go race for Hendrick. I don't like you're putting Kyle Larson in any ride over anybody, I think, at this point in time. So it's way far fetched out there. That's not happening, but to be crazy if it did, and you could certainly see a very alternate universe where something like that would happen, and that'd be nuts.
So I'm listening. I always educate myself, right? I'm always constantly trying, especially because I drive about an hour and a half.
One of us has to, Ralph.
I already know my limitations.
Thanks for taking care of that.
I'm trying to get a little smarter than I already am. But I was listening to this thing in sports, and they were talking about the probabilities and statistical aspects of a lot of different things happening. And, while things are, especially in sports, not impossible, they are improbable. However, if you played something out 1,000 times across 1,000 multi-universes, then there are at least some chance that thing that you didn't think was going to happen is going to happen. And which universe and which reality are we living in? Are we living in the one where Kyle Larson stays with Hendrick Motorsports, or the one where Kyle Larson teams up with Michael Jordan? Which reality are we in right now? Which matrix are we in?
For the story, the Michael Jordan one sounds fun, but Kyle Larson's going to stay in the 5 car. And that's probably what it is.
Do you write fan fiction? Because that would be a fun fan fiction to write. Kyle Larson in the 35. All right.
So that's like you got to create a crazy Reddit username and go down this entire rabbit hole of how this would be possible and how it would happen. And yeah, it sounds like fun for somebody.
Somebody on Reddit's about to be like, "Oh, I know what Rod's username is," because he's coming up with this story. All right, so then let's look at one that may be a little more fluid than the 5, and that is the 48, the former occupant of the former home of the best driver in the entire world, Jimmy Johnson. We are 48 days away from the Daytona 500, but Alex Bowman's contract up at the end of 2026. I know, and we got it up here that John Ray saying that Bowman isn't going anywhere either. But here's the thing. You got Elliott, you got Larson, you got Byron, the 3 heaviest hitters in that stable. And while Bowman's been consistent, is there a way to grab a flashier name than Alex Bowman? There's not a lot out there right now, but obviously you can open your pocketbook and convince a lot of people to go a lot of different places. And so the 48, is a very attractive ride, right? A championship car through and through, a historic number with the greatest driver out there on a team that is not scared to spend money, that has money, that's always in the championship contention. So if you're Bowman, you got to drive like you're out of your mind, because this is obviously a contract year for him. And I don't know. I'm conflicted, Cody, because I feel like you don't let go of a guy as consistent as Bowman, right? Because there's really not too many other guys out there that you could bring in that you could say are going to be as consistent. But I don't know. I mean, it's just me. I feel like this could be a change of ride at the end of this season.
This is the most interesting piece on the board right now, the 48 ride. Alex Bowman has it, and he needs to dig into his 2021 self and come out and win 4 races this year and secure that ride for himself in the future. I do think it's most likely that he re-signs. Obviously, that would make the most sense, right? I think that he's been a good driver for them. He's been a solid driver. I think he brings a lot that Ally in particular likes. That he was sort of handpicked to be that guy to don't forget, right? He replaced Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. When Jimmy left, that's when they slid that car over to Kyle in the 5 and moved him into the 48, whatever. But he's been that guy, right? He's been a consistent guy. He always delivers consistency, right? He's not a champion. He's not competing for the championship. The 4th car, it's been a while since we've seen the 4th or 5th car. Back in the Roush days, they had 5 cars that really could compete week to week. But be super, super great, right? So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I think if I'm Rick Hendrick, I would explore guys like Corey Haim is out there, right? And he doesn't currently have a cup ride, and he's got this deal with 2311, and he's got some type of deal with Toyota, but they're not really taking care of him. I mean, look at him, right? He's sitting over here. We're 34 days until the Clash of the Coliseum. He doesn't have a ride in any of the series next year. He has no plans announced. They're not taking care of him. If Rick Hendrick gets him on the phone, contracts are one thing, yes, but we all know they don't mean anything, right? And the Tyler Reddick deal, we saw that happen, right? So maybe, okay, fine. Your contract runs through 26 or runs through 27. In 28, you'll be the driver of the 48. Alex Bowman, you can stay here for 2 more years. Like, and it would get worked out if that was the case, right? But Corey Haim sitting out there, I think you would have to do your due diligence there. Carson Hocevar's already in the Chevrolet camp, and as much as you want to hate on him, Rod, he's a wheel man. He's an up and coming driver. He brings that flash, that flair, the excitement, right? That maybe you want and your sponsors might want. Although Rick tends to be with the less exciting guys, I guess, but still, I think that he would be the top guy I would want to see go in that ride. Obviously, if a guy like Reddick were available, his contract is potentially up after this year. We don't for sure know. That would be a guy you'd obviously throw in that car as quick as possible. I think most likely outcome, as boring as it is Bowman just gets extended. Look, they've had these 4 guys for quite a few years now, ever since Jimmy retired, and it's been a great core, right? They've won multiple championships. Jimmy's final year they win with Chase, and then Kyle's won twice since then. But I don't know. I'd love to see a Carson Hocevar in this ride. I think that's possible. He's already in the Chevy camp. I think they could easily pry him away from Aspire. But I think Bowman is the most likely outcome in this 48 car.
And yeah, as unsexy as it is, that would probably be the best move for him, because like you had said, you laid out a good case for a few of these guys, but none of them, I think, can bring you that solid anchor that Alex Bowman does. I'll talk about another person that I think may be interesting, but slow roll saying, Cody, is Tyrone Gibbs the new Captain Shook? I know he's Gibbs' grandkid, but anybody else be on the hot seat. Here's the thing. He's not even captain yet. He's a lieutenant.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You have to be at the rank of captain before you can be Captain Shook. He's more of an ensign, lieutenant. We're pretty far down on the chain still. I don't know if he'd be on the hot seat yet. You look at a guy like Austin Cindric, right? I think they're very comparable. Maybe he's starting to get on the hot seat. If Gibbs doesn't win a race this year, I think he should be probably on the hot seat, and I don't care what his name is, but this is the year, Rod, I hope. I'm starting to feel like a Cowboys fan, but
no, I'm out completely. But I will say the one other thing would be, yes, slow roll. if we're going to go that far down, Private Shook. That is Private Shook.
Yes, he could be Private Shook.
Army ranks right there for that one. So, all right. But the only other thing that I could think of is if they did bring Kyle Busch back into the fold.
Oh, this is actually my dream. Sorry, Carson Hocevar. This is my dream. You bring Kyle Busch home and give him the 48 car.
Let him retire.
You could probably pull the 18 away from Gibbs at this point, right? Renumber it the 18.
That would be something.
I'd love to see it. I unfortunately think we're probably past that with Kyle, but you look at a Mark Martin. He came in at he was like 90 years old when Hendrick signed him, and he had a lot of success there in the 5 car. I don't know. Do you go from Bowman to Busch? I think that leaves your future in a lot more, whatever. He obviously brings a ton of fans. He's very popular. You get that part of things. And he started there, right? He was him and Ricky, Rick's son, who passed away in the plane crash. They were buddies and all that stuff. It would be such a great story.
It'd be a fantastic story. And honestly, too, again, and just like, so if you don't know, Justin is Rowdy Nation over there in Discord saying championship, here we come. I mean, honestly, it's probably one of the better opportunities for him to be a championship driver again, one last time before it's all said and done.
Maybe.
I mean, not that he doesn't have a good chance in the 8 car as well, but I mean, a little better in the 48 or 18, whatever it is.
Yeah, you factor in like an ally who's, I believe, signed on that car for a while, and that they may play the biggest role in this because they really love Alex Bowman from everything you hear. Do they want to associate themselves with a guy like Kyle Busch? Not that that's a horrible thing, right? But his image is different. I don't know. So I think there are definitely behind-the-scenes things. I'd love to see that reunion. I still think Kyle Busch has some in the tank. He is like 5-6 years younger than a Denny Hamlin is. Look what Denny's been accomplishing in great equipment. Kyle still higher than Denny on the all-time wins list right now as we speak because of the great career he's had. There's still some left in there. We need to get him out of RCR purgatory. But, boy, I'd love to see Kyle Busch in the 48 car.
All right, well, we'll talk about some other landing spots for Kyle Busch when we come back from the break. But first, I'd like to tell you about Novig. We are also brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. With Novig, you are getting the best prices, absolutely guaranteed. Talked about Monday Night Football for those of you watching live. The Rams, the 11-4 Rams taking on the Atlanta Falcons. If you would like to maybe cover the spread here, Novig is giving you the Rams at -6.5 at -123, or you can go for a full touchdown for the Rams at +111. Some great prices out there on Novig. Go download the Novig app and get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. Rhythm has crushed NFL this season, especially on props. They've been really good at identifying when to fade players and take those unders. Plus, college basketball is up and running. And with 300-plus schools, Rhythm has predictions for every game, every night, and like a fine wine or a whiskey, for those of you out there who drink whiskey, it pairs nicely with the daily TCE shows with Matt, Colby, and Noah. Every game, you are prepared. It's super easy to sign up, run predictions off the house model, or make your own and play with the sliders. With so many sports in the holidays, makes it easy to get an elite prediction on a game so I can focus on all kinds of other sports. Talking about that Monday Night Football game, Kirk Cousins, Rhythm has got the under 225.5 passing yards, -112 against the Rams. Kirk Cousins, as much as we love Kirk Cousins, has only thrown for more than 225 passing yards in 5 of his last 7. Actually, 7 of his last 9, or 6 of his last 8 games on this one. So not very good on the over for Kirk Cousins, and Rhythm is leaning that way. So use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off of your first month. Download Rhythm and use promo code SGPN25. I am the absolute biggest Atlanta Falcons fan this evening. I would like them to absolutely send the Rams home with their tails between their legs. I'm still catching my breath from that thriller last night.
Oh my goodness.
Niners
What a that was like game, not only game of the year, but wow, the whole thing was great. I placed a couple of bets on that game, Rod. I had Caleb Williams over 17.5 rushing yards. He had one scramble on the final drive that got him to 18 to cash it. I had the 49ers that was minus 3.5. So they covered that, right, by the way the score worked out at the end. I had the over that hit by like 700 points. It was a really fun game. It was like everything just lined up perfectly. The last drive, I'm like, okay, I need Caleb to rush here. He runs, and I'm like, all right, now nobody scored. Just leave it how it is. We cash everything. Rod will be happy. Sorry, Justin. But it was beautiful, beautiful night.
It was an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous game. My dad and I were watching it together because I'm a huge Niner fan with my dad too. And the whole last drive, neither one of us talked. We were both holding our breath. And by the end of it, all you heard was,
both the biggest sigh. Is that where that win came from last night? I was
so
wondering.
Fantastic. Yeah. And then, of course, the whole time, Justin, if you don't know Justin from the Old Fashioned Fantasy podcast out there with his wife, Miranda, they're both Bears fans. And yeah, we were texting all night long. It was like, hey, man, looking pretty good for this. And then all of a sudden he'd shoot back something and I'd shoot back something. It was a lot of fun. At the end,
they said first time ever that a game had been tied at 7, tied at 14, tied at 21, tied at 28, tied at 35. Like it was literally, you get a point, you get a point, you get a point, you get one for you, one for you, one for you. Like just, man, it was so good. It was great football.
Yeah, defense was non-existent in that game, other than the first play of the game where the defense scored the first points. But after that, it was a free-for-all. But yeah, we're not here to talk about football, even though I could talk about that game all damn day. All right, Kyle Busch then. We left off before the break talking about Kyle Busch's possible future in the 48, which obviously probably won't come to pass. But look, at the end of 26, man, this is his last contract year with RCR. Does it make sense, Cody, for him to want to stay or for them to want to keep him? Like, this is the most frustrating part of it all, because Kyle Busch, like you said just before we left, he's still got something left, right? It's not as if he's completely forgotten how to drive. It's not as if he still isn't one of the most prolific drivers of our era, right? And in the post Jimmy Johnson era as well. But problem is, it just hasn't been able to see the success from it all, right? Had his win streak broken a couple of years ago, hasn't won a race in a couple of seasons, hasn't really even sniffed a whole lot of top 10s. Yeah, but
he's sniffed a couple of wins. He's been, the last couple of years, he's been really close to a few wins that I think would change everybody's perspective or perception of where Kyle Busch is today. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, still, I think he's in his upper 30s. I want to say he's like 39, which Denny Hamlin is 44, I believe. So, in comparison, Denny's still getting it done, right? Granted, Denny more of a late bloomer, I guess. He's been good forever, but really came onto the scene, over the last few years. Kyle, if you look back, he's already over that 60 wins. I mean, he had an amazing, amazing career, 2 championships, of course. So I think RCR is taking the right steps, right? They've changed their crew chief out. They're going to try some different things. I think that he needs to open the season hot, right? Maybe if he can win a race or two early on, that could potentially solve everything. Maybe we come back to RCR for another year. From what it sounded like, this 26 year was a completely an RCR option, which they picked up, which why wouldn't they? It's Kyle Busch, right? And maybe he didn't necessarily love getting that picked up and having to stay another year. But I think, depending on how his season starts, really could determine things. Because if it starts well, if he's able to pick up a win, maybe too early in the season, in Atlanta, he's really good at. Even Daytona, if he finally gets that 500 win, something like that. And we've seen RCR has been able to put together good cars. Look at the car Austin Dillon's had at Richmond the last 2 years, right? They've got something figured out. I know it's one track, but they were able to put together cars that can win. He's had opportunities leading at Kansas late 2 seasons ago. Some other races where he's been close. So if he starts the season out good, that could open up either a path back to RCR, or it could open up a path to the 48 car, Rod. Or, if it doesn't start well, where does that land him, right? There's been a lot of talk about Spire. It sounds like Spire really, really wants Kyle Busch to come into the fold. You look at how they've got a young guy like Carson Hocevar, if they're able to keep him around. Justin said it earlier, right? Maybe he'd be a great mentor for a Carson Hocevar type of guy. You can certainly see that. And he's obviously not bringing, a larger sponsorship with him, but there's going to be people that want to be, associated with Kyle Busch, certainly. But otherwise, you look around, where else is there to go, right? 2311, I think, is the problem with 2311 is Reddick, if he's not locked up, should be and will be locked up to stay there. Bubba's not going anywhere. And Riley Herbst clearly is likely going to be out of that ride. They brought him in to pay for the charter, essentially, with the monster money. He'll do his 2 years and be out. But you got Corey Haim, so it's hard to bring Kyle Busch when you got Corey Haim sitting there. Haim is the obvious guy to get that ride, right? I think Kyle Busch would be an amazing fit at 2311, where Kurt, was one of their first drivers, all that stuff. But probably not a really true option. The one other thing, Kaulig potentially in 27 is going to be switching to Dodge. Toyota came into the series and Busch was a big part of helping them really get things going and get on the right track. Could Dodge, if Dodge is looking at Kaulig right now and they're seeing AJ Allmendinger and Ty Dillon, they're fine drivers, but do we want those to be the flagship guys for Dodge coming in? Probably not, right? So if you could pull a Kyle Busch type to help bring your brand back into the sport, that could potentially be an option. Otherwise, where's it going to go,
Well, and what's crazy is you think about this, and we're talking about Kyle Busch getting into, I guess, better equipment, but RCR was the standard bearer, right? Dale Earnhardt and Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer and these guys. I get it, but it's funny that here we are now in 2025, heading into 2026, talking about needing to be in better equipment when that was basically the Hendrick equipment of the day, right? With drivers that basically reflected the state of the sport. And now fast forward to here, and we're talking about having to get Kyle Busch in better equipment. And it's mind boggling how fast and how just sort of 180 the sport can be, because, let's say Kyle Busch ends up in Spire equipment, and now all of a sudden Spire is elevated because of Kyle Busch. And Michael McDowell, right, is another one of those guys that in 2026
he signed, as well. Yeah. Well, yeah, he signed a multi-year deal, which started in 25. So that's one of those where it's very vague, right? Is multi-year 2? Is it 6? I mean, likely it's 2 or 3, but I could definitely see, because they've obviously just pulled Suarez in with the money. He's probably going to stay around if they can help it. If they're able to keep Hocevar, right? Does he go to the 48 car? Obviously, that opens up where does Alex Bowman potentially go, but they certainly could have openings over there. I mean, I think you'd take Kyle Busch over Michael McDowell. As good of a driver as McDowell's been, he's fine, right? But if you get an opportunity for a Kyle Busch, I think you jump at that.
He says, don't fuel JDK even more, Justin, by saying RCR is in the same category as any of the elite teams. None of us are saying that now.
Maybe it's all the same equipment. They buy it all from Walmart. It's the same.
It comes off the same conveyor belt, and there it is. All right. Well, those are some of the bigger names that are out there. I know that we've got a couple of other guys that could be switching seats. You talked about Austin Cindric, one of the Penske guys.
Cindric, I think, is an interesting one. So Cindric, obviously, Penske is again, the way we look at kind of the hierarchy of cup rides, you got Hendrick, you got Gibbs. They're the one on the top, across the board. But Penske's right behind them. I consider them kind of the 1A, like they're the next best thing, right? And so we don't really know where Cindric is as far as his contract goes, but seemingly him and Blaney potentially are up this year, which Blaney, his deal might be for longer. He signed a what was the wording? It was like, it wasn't multi-year, but it was,
that's what it is.
Yeah, but his was, they used a bigger word back in 22 when he signed. Long-term, I think is what they said. But who knows what long-term means. But, Cindric has been kind of borderline. And with the current playoff format, that as of now we still have, right, depending on when you're listening to this, but as we record here on December, whatever it is, 29th, with the playoffs, he's been making the playoffs. That's kind of probably what they expect out of him. That's been solid. If that goes away, or we go to what's sounding like the 10 plus 2 wild cards, not going to be just getting in on a super speedway win anymore, that could definitely change how he's viewed. You look at how good Blaney and Logano are. and there is a gap there to Cindric. Now, Cindric has definitely picked up, right? And I think he's done better and better. And it would depend who you could get in that ride. I mean, you're not just going to go sign anybody, because I don't think anybody's going to be better than him. But who could you put in that ride potentially? You know, is that a chance for Ford to steal a Carson Hocevar type? Or, again, Corey Heim, I mean, yeah, sure, he seems locked in with 2311 and Toyota, but the way they're treating him right now, if I was his camp and Ford or Chevy came with a big deal, I'd be looking at taking it, because Toyota's honestly is treating Corey Heim like shit currently, as far as everything we know, right? Unless they're really rubbing his back behind the doors. I don't know. But yeah, this is definitely an interesting ride, because it is on a quote unquote top tier team. Does Kyle Busch, Kurt once ran the 2 car. That didn't end well. But Kurt was once in the 2 car for Penske. Does Kyle find his way over there? That'd be an interesting fit with Logano. I don't know that he necessarily fits in that room, but bringing star power, right? I don't know. And Cindric's dad, if you don't know, no longer works for Penske after the little cheating scandal they had there. So there's not, that was kind of the tie that got him in this spot. And I'd say he's earned his spot there for now. He's, man, a lot of comparisons to like an Alex Bowman, less consistent, but he sort of earned what he's got, but could be replaced, I guess.
Yeah, and Cindric's another one of those guys where I feel like if there was a team that was not satisfied with their 3rd driver or their 4th driver, depending on what team it is, they could make a move for them, for him as well, and just sort of bring him on board, because, it's a lot like it's Alex Bowman light, in that, Cindric can be a good driver, right, and turn in some good finishes, and like you said, consistently make the playoffs and just be there when he needs to be there. But again, maybe if he is the main focal point of a team and gets the attention that Joey Logano gets in that garage, Ryan Blaney gets in that garage, maybe he can be a little better. Because honestly too, Cody, and we've talked about this even from a race to race perspective, it's like, well, all right, he's the 3rd car for 2311. He's the 4th car for Hendrick. He's the 4th car for Gibbs, right? It's hard for these teams to equally allocate money to all 4 teams to make them all equally as competitive, because, as you know, the more successful these guys get, the more money they command, because of teams and crew chiefs and all of the stuff that goes along with paying for the success that you get. And you'd think that would trickle down, but unfortunately, sometimes it can only trickle down so far, which is why guys like Cindric, if he gets to be the focal point of a team, maybe could elevate his game. But, there's nowhere out there. There's no rides, I think, that are opening up, because we've already put people in the 48. We've already put people in that 3rd 2311 car. Like, where would he go if he wasn't a Penske driver anymore?
Yeah, and I don't think I think if Alex Bowman, gets the pink slip from Hendrick, I think he's a pretty in-demand driver. I think there's a lot of teams that would really want Alex Bowman. I don't know that Cindric brings that same. I don't know that everybody's going to be like, oh, we should really go look at Austin Cindric. I think he'd probably land a ride and could do fine for somebody, but I don't know that he's done. It's weird, because he does have some wins, and he's definitely turning good performances and made playoffs and stuff, but he's just not. I mean, Bowman's had a 4-win season. He's won at different styles of tracks and different types, and the consistency, right? And obviously, being the 4th guy at Hendrick, it means you're a lot better than a lot of teams' 1st guy, right? So I think there would be some people after Cindric, but I don't think it would be to the same degree. And then, the other part of this is you look around, right? And they generally use the 21 car as a feeder for their Penske program, or they have in the past, certainly. Is Josh Berry ready for the 2 car? I don't think so. I know that Dale Jr. will tell you he is, and maybe Josh Berry's mom, but outside of that, probably not very many other people are going to tell you that. And, you look down, okay, who does Ford have come? Well, they don't hardly have any O'Reilly teams, because nobody races Ford there. Trucks, I mean, even in the Truck Series right now, you've got some guys, some Caden Honeycutts, some Geos maybe that are eventually going to be Cup guys. We'll see, but there's not another Corey Heim right now, or a Carson Hocevar, or a Zane Smith that you think, okay, they're ready. If you look to the Xfinity Series or now the O'Reilly Series, right? Jesse Love certainly pops up, but Austin Dillon's another name we could maybe talk about. Potentially he's retiring soon. I think Jesse's probably tabbed for that 3 car. down the road. Outside of that, who else catches your? I mean, Sheldon Creed, Sam Mayer, like these guys aren't guys you're racing to put into a cup ride. There's not a lot of big time prospects right now. Zilich obviously was the guy last year. He's got a ride. He's good through 27, right? So it does seem like the pipeline is a little more dry than it has been previously, I guess. And that maybe leads into a Penske, like, Penske looks around and he says, okay, maybe a host of our on talent, maybe a Kyle Busch if you want to go down that route, but otherwise bringing Austin Cindric back might just be better than settling for anybody else that's not really going to be an upgrade, right? There's not a bunch of other people you're screaming, oh, he should have a ride over an Austin Cindric.
I feel like Earnhardt fans would be rolling over in their grave if Kyle Busch ended up in that 3 car.
I don't think Kyle Busch is going to. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the 3. When Austin Dillon does retire, I could see that number being held back like the 18 is currently, and nobody running the 3 car for quite some time. The Dillon running it thing, while I know a lot of people didn't love that, he did have the connection, right? He is Richard Childress's grandson. Dale raced for Richard. He was a kid when Dale was around, all that stuff. So there's certainly the familial ties, even though he's not an Earnhardt. He's the Earnhardt Childress family. It makes sense to put him in the 3 car. I don't know. Going forward, we might not see the 3 car once Austin Dillon does retire.
Yeah, and I know that we don't retire NASCAR numbers per se, but like I feel like there's a couple of untouchables. And speaking of the untouchable numbers, and
I don't think there is though, because they're all being run like the quote unquote untouchables. I think there's 4 numbers you could put in that category. It's a 3 car, which obviously is being run, and I really do think that was the one they probably should have retired based on Dale dying in the car, being one of the greatest drivers in that thing. The 43 has been run forever since Petty left, right? The 24, William Byron's made that his number now, and the 48, which Alex Bowman's been fine in it, and it's around. So, I mean, those are really the 4 numbers that you greatly associate with one of the greats, right? I mean, yeah, you go back farther, you could find some other stuff, and they're all being used. So I don't know that anything's retirable at this point.
Well, and like I said, you can't really, because then if you start retiring it for all the greats, then you don't have any cars
unless
to drive.
We're allowing triple digits, which I've always been a fan of.
The 001.
I always like throwing a Z on the end there or whatever, like they do at the local dirt tracks. Give us some letters.
I was going to say all of the late model races that are out there.
Yeah.
But so let's wrap up this conversation with one of those legendary rides and his counterpart, the 43 and the 42. Both Legacy Motor Club drivers at the end of 2026 are appearing to be free agents. And I'll tell you this right now, I don't think either one of these guys are going anywhere. I think this would be another kind of a non-starter, because what we've seen out of just the evolution of Legacy since Jimmy Johnson took over, it has been these guys and John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones both sort of taking that mantle and really stepping up to where they need to be to keep this team on the up and up, right? We've seen top 10 finishes from both of these guys over the last couple of seasons. Obviously, Eric Jones always in contention for top 10s at certain tracks. John Hunter Nemechek is been the solid enough driver when you need him to be. Now, I know that he probably wishes, and we wish for a little bit more, because he was given the opportunity to come back into the Cup Series through Legacy. And, again, I'm sure he's grateful for it. I'm sure Legacy is grateful for the opportunity to bring him back into the Cup Series. But here's the thing, right? Along with a lot of these other drivers that we're talking about, where's the market for JHN? Where's the market for Eric Jones? And does Legacy take a big swing to try to bring in a big name like a Bowman? There's that connection between Jimmy and Alex with the number. Does he drive the 42? Does he drive the 43? Does Eric Jones go venture somewhere else? Maybe he goes to the 2 car and takes Cindric's place. Like, it's just, there's a lot of floating pieces out there that, see what I'm saying? Like you could draw those
the wheels
lines,
are spinning, Rob.
right? And so what do you do if you're legacy? But I feel
that's
like
what's so fun. I sort of am just rooting for a year where it's just like where we got to get out the strings and we're just gonna like, oh my God, Eric Jones to the 2, this guy's here. We just have all these changes because I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's probably not going to happen, right? It's fun to speculate about, but yeah, I mean, you bring up good points. And one thing we haven't tossed into any of this is that the 60 car currently, Ryan Preece at RFK, Legacy Motor Club owns that charter, and it will go back to them in 2027. And so the current belief is they will have 3 cars in 2027. Where does that leave RFK, right? Does Brad retire? They just run with the 2 cars. Do they figure out a way to get a third charter? Legacy, I believe Jimmy Johnson is committed to winning, and we've seen that. They could be a candidate to switch to Dodge, or if Honda were to come in or whatever, because I think that they would rather be a premier team, as they've already shown, right? They stepped up from Chevy to Toyota, getting a better deal with Toyota than they had with Chevy. I think that Jimmy would be very willing to go to Dodge and again, if you're Dodge, you could partner with Jimmy Johnson, right? Do you bring a Kyle Busch to a team like that? Either return him into the Toyota camp or to help spearhead going into Dodge. I think Legacy, with the 2 guys they have, they're doing great. We obviously talked a ton about them this past year when it came to betting. I'm sure we will continue to have that conversation into 2026. But yeah, there's a lot. Legacy could be one of the more interesting puzzle pieces too. And yeah, if a Bowman or a Cindric does get dropped from those bigger teams, do you pull them? Do they have the sway within Toyota to get a Corey Heim over there? Although the 2311 piece is the weird part, right? Because he should be going there based on contracts, but again, all up in the air. There's a lot of different puzzle pieces that could go in there. I wanted to see John Hunter get the Truex ride. Obviously, Joe knows what he's doing, and what a great choice putting Chase Briscoe in there. But I think John Hunter and Eric Jones are 2 extremely talented guys. I think we've really seen that play out this past year. I hope that they continue to build on that in the second year of Jimmy being in full control of the team. But definitely Legacy, interesting team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I'm 100% on board for whatever Jimmy Johnson does. I feel like going to Dodge would be, like you said, a fantastic move. Obviously, I don't think they would do that right now because the ink is almost still wet from their Toyota deal. But Jimmy's been really good at making decisions for this team lately, and I don't see that slowing down. So whoever he decides to keep, I'm okay with, because like I said, I've been happy with the progress of Legacy. If nothing else, the results will come, right? You trust the process. I think I've heard that several times over. But Brian Twining, happy holiday, gents. Not sure KFB is still racing in 2027.
Hey, we didn't even talk about retirement, Rod, because nobody wants to see it.
It's the problem is that it's not that I feel like he's 40 years old. Okay. If you're talking about a 40-year-old running back in the NFL, absolutely hang him up, right? You should be in the glue factory. If you're Jesus Christ, I'd live that whole thing. If you're talking about a 44-year-old quarterback in the NFL, looking at you, Phillip Rivers, you're good. You're carving up the Niners defense like anybody else does. But I don't know. I don't know that he retires. Like Cody said earlier in the episode, there's just too much fire left in him. I don't think he's quite ready to hang it up yet, or else he would have already.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see with Braxton, right? I think that could play a big piece in it. I think that when Braxton does go to the Truck Series, Kyle wants to race with him there, whether that's doing one-off stuff, right, or whether they go race full-time with each other there. That's kind of the one thing that maybe we should have brought up is maybe he is getting closer to, and Justin not ready for that convo as Rowdy Nation. I'm not either. I don't want to see. I don't like it when great players or racers in this case step down early and leave some out there. Don't leave anything on the table. Give it to us all, Rod. I want all of your greatness to the very end, even if you have to milk it a little too long, like Jimmy Johnson. I want all of your greatness anyways. But it'd be sad. It would be sad, but. Yeah, and yes, I know Hamlin's the extreme outlier, like Tom Brady. You make good points. But MTJ, Brad K, Busch already took massive steps back in contention at the age. It is a great point, right? I think again, I think we're really close to a couple of wins over the past 2 years that completely changed this conversation. And maybe it's not leaning that way, but another year of not winning races, it could really push us into, it's time to hang it up. It's time to start racing with Brexton more, spend time with him. We'll just have to see.
And then that just launches us into another completely different conversation about how you define success and what is successful racing and what you feel is a maintainable level of success. What do teams envision you do? I mean, there's a whole there's a complex web of everything that you've got to take into account when you talk about sports and even, I guess, in life, where your threshold for failure or what you consider failure is. It's so crazy. But one thing is for certain, Cody, as we head into the 2026 season, all of these discussions, all of these considerations are being made right now. You don't think we're the only ones talking about this behind closed doors right now. There's some very smart people in the room that are now trying to move on and figure out the future of their team and what that means, especially as contract negotiations are probably already taking place, especially for some of the bigger names out there right now.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. These conversations have already been had or being had. Chess pieces are being moved. And if they're not by those big teams, they're behind because other big teams are. And so, yeah, it's going to be, this is setting up to, last year was not really much of a silly season. There just wasn't a lot of big pieces to move. I mean, really, you go back and you look at it, Daniel Suarez going from Trackhouse to Spire was kind of the biggest move. And really, that was the only, everybody else kind of is just returning to where they were for the most part. But this is setting up to be potentially a bigger silly season. Obviously, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, the Kyle Larsons of the world probably re-sign. Alex Bowman's of the world probably re-sign. And we get those extensions, and it's less of a craziness like we had a couple of years ago. But that ended up being where there was a couple potential guys, some of them signed, and then Kyle Busch, when we all thought he was going back, didn't. So maybe we'll be in for some big surprises, and maybe Kyle Busch finds his way back to HMS road.
And just to get really one more back to the Hamlin thing before we wrap it up for good, in that if the events of this recent, and everything that unfolded is too much, right? And this may be the last year that Denny Hamlin, because I know his contract is through 2027, so it'd be the end of the 2027 season. But he's a lot like me, in that I'm holding my retirement paperwork now, and I can put that stuff in whenever I want, right? I've earned the right to just kind of say I'm done, and Denny Hamlin is beyond earned the right. And I know we all want him to get one, right? I know we all want him to hoist that championship trophy at the end of the year, but maybe it was just too much. Maybe the stress and the strain of everything, and this is his last year, which opens up the 11 car, which brings a whole different conversation into this, right?
Yeah, even, obviously, again, we're thinking about him as they go through this, and we don't know what the road ahead looks like with the one who has survived, right? What their road to recovery looks like. And if he feels he needs to step away, obviously family is always first, and you'd support that. That opens up a whole nother bombshell of dominoes and crazy stuff that we would see, right? Probably Corey Haim jumps into that car, I would think, but who knows? We'll get to that bridge, obviously, if it has to be crossed. But even so, Hamlin is re-signed through 27, yes, but that's likely the end of the road for him. So already Joe Gibbs and Heather and Ty have probably had conversations about how do these puzzle pieces start to fall in the post, Denny. So they're already, teams are looking ahead. And we saw the couple of years ago with the Reddick getting signed a year and a half before his deal was up, mid next year, we could already see, I guess really mid this year, we could already see them trying to poach somebody for that 11 car. If they're making a succession plan, obviously maybe they think Denny will stay longer, and you probably get into 27 before you make that deal, but definitely a lot of other potential doors to be opened up out there.
Whew. My conspiracy head is just spinning right now with all of these thoughts about where, and obviously we'll keep you updated as events unfold for the 2026 seasons and rides are announced. I don't think we'd be too far away from hearing the beginnings of some of the bigger ones, like the Kyle Larsons out there, the maybe Alex Bowman out there.
Deals for those could be inked in any day, right? It could just be, oh, hey, Happy New Year, Kyle Larson's extended a long-term deal with Hendrick Motorsports, and there you go. That's put to bed and out of the question, and we move on from the 5 car, right? Or same thing with Bowman or any number. Again, there's a list of, we kind of compiled a list before the show. There's like 20 drivers that we don't know if their contracts go. Again, that's the weird thing about NASCAR is it's not like Patrick Mahomes' deal is through X year. He's getting paid this much, whatever. We don't know that with NASCAR drivers in particular. So there's some we definitely have end dates on. Some it's multi-year deals. What does that mean from when they signed it, right? So, a lot of potential moves could be made.
Yep. We'll be probably reporting within the next couple of months. Kyle Larson signed through 3026, just to keep him locked in forever and ever. Amen.
The Jeff Gordon guy signed a lifetime deal, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did. As a matter of fact, remember, lifetime deal. See, it's out there. It's on the table.
That's worked out pretty good for the future owner of Hendrick Motorsports.
Tell you what, man. And like I said, I was watching that. What was it? The 2027 Daytona 500, 2026 Daytona. Whatever it was, a couple of months ago, I was watching it because they were
2027 Daytona 500. If you were watching that, Rod, you should maybe clue us in a little bit, because it'd be really nice to know how that works.
I'm holding.
Stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have a great show coming up for you.
I'm holding the almanac from Back to the Future. I know exactly what's going on. No, the 2006. That's what it was.
Maybe? There you go.
2006 Daytona 500. Yeah, and it's just weird to watch all these guys. The Jeff Gordons, the Jimmy Johnsons, all race again. The Kurt Bushes and the
good
two. Yeah, the good old days. The 01 Army car out there racing around. That was fun. All right. Well, we have gone down the rabbit hole about as far as we can go for today. Because if we continue down that rabbit hole, you'll be here for another 6 hours. And while I'm sure you enjoy it, we do have to get to the family out there. They do have to know we exist. So it'd be best if we showed our face at least for dinner. So, all right. Well then, Cody, tomorrow we are coming back to talk about Indy win totals, right? IndyCar win totals.
Yeah, we have win totals for IndyCar. Sure, it'd be nice if we had those for NASCAR, but hopefully next week, maybe we get there. But yes, IndyCar win totals, and then we're going to put a bow on the 2026. Oh boy, I'm already trying to get ahead of the game. See, jeez, we're going to put a bow on the 2025 season. Just kind of do a recap, go through some positives, some negatives, who we were impressed with, who we weren't impressed with, and how that kind of impacts things going forward, just to cap off the year. And then it's going to be, I think the Clash is technically February 1st. So it's not going to be race month, but it's going to be betting on the race month. So we'll go with that.
Indeed. So yeah, we'll have a nice little 3-day visit for you as well. And just wrap up 2025 with that year in review. Be fun. Come with us, hang out with us, and have a good time. So, all right. Cody, as we let everyone go from this episode, let them know where they can find you outside of the little space we got here.
Yep. Follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. Lots of it, especially with all these bowl games going on, football stuff, tons and tons of content constantly coming out. You can follow it all there, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Indeed. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. You can find everything I'm up to, including celebrating the fact that Army won the Fenway Bowl. Fresno State won the Snoop Dogg.
How did Army do against Navy? Could you remind me?
And the Niners won on. I'm sorry, you cut out there. You froze, and I didn't think you talked.
I just purchased my Carson Hocevar number 48 T-shirt, Rod. So hopefully I'll be wearing that on the show next week.
That'd be hilarious. All right, yeah. Follow me on Twitter and have some fun out there with me as well. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow with more of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. And until then, everybody, let's go racing. Let's make NASCAR gambling fun again and let it ride.
Sweet as a